Testing. Oh, I sound like Barry White. Right on, yo.
Nile, it's a great honor to have you here. And here is a guy that went from being a nobody to one of the biggest stars in the world, certainly in America, at the absolute peak of this scene. And then a year or so later, all these records that he made, and millions by other people as well, were being burnt in baseball stadiums. And as Niall just pointed out to me, as he was on his way over here, he noticed that the EDC just took place at the Giant Stadium in New York City. So a lot of irony in there, but I think we can learn a lot from this guy in terms of where it all came from. And maybe heed some lessons that the last time America got this excited about dancing, this man was at the helm of it. So Niall, welcome.
Thank you, man.
So just tell us how, I mean, I know you want to play us some stuff as well, but firstly, how did you come up with disco? How did we get there at the beginning?
So the way it happened for me was I started out, I was a classical musician. I was a little kid and playing in school orchestras. And then when I turned 16 years old, I met this girl, and she was way out of my league, and she had a band. And she said that she needed a guitar player. And because I was so proficient in classical music and theory and stuff, I thought for some reason I could magically pick up the guitar and know what to do, or at least impress them. I fell flat on my face and I stank, and she laughed at me, and basically, as far as I was concerned, I was like throwing down the gauntlet. So anyway, long story short, I learned to play guitar, believe it or not, in about 2.5 years. And 2 years or so from that incident, I got my first job, and I was with Sesame Street, the children's television show, and they were in their second year. So I went right from Sesame Street to the Apollo Theater, which was like where I learned the funk business. And while funk was sort of happening and growing in America, in New York, there was a scene brewing downtown in all the clubs. It was the early phase of disco. And they weren't really calling it disco yet. It was just still R&B dance music. But you could hear that there was something going on, and it was bringing everybody together. Jazz artists were playing it. Just people from all walks of life were getting together around boom, 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 boom. And like I walked into a club one night, and I heard that, and it just sort of it just took me over. And the very first song I ever wrote from Chic, by Chic, or for Chic, was a song called Everybody Dance. And it had boom, 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 boom going on. But because I was a jazz guy, it had to have hip chord changes. So, I mean, I could just play it for you real quick and then we'll move on. But so I had to have these really hip chord changes. It wasn't like, you know, the other sort of dance records that I was hearing. So it had this hip, jazzy voice leading. And when I first wrote it, because I had the nice steady 4 and floor going on, I was playing. So it was like, wow, my life is changed because I could be cool in my world, I could be jazzy and hip, but I could still rock the dance floor. And that was a magical moment for me because, you know, I called my partner and I was like, man, yo, we gotta get into this stuff because I could feel life changing. You know, the Apollo was paying my paycheck and all that sort of thing, but downtown it was excitement. Anyway, so my girlfriend and I, we started going to a bunch of clubs and we could just hear this underground stuff brewing, and I wanted to be a part of this movement, and I didn't quite know what it was, but I could watch it building around me. Every time I would go to a club, there were white people, black people, gay people, Latin people. It was just, everybody was coming together, Hence, everybody dance. Everything sort of made sense. Nothing with Chic was random. It was all, oh my God, now let's do this. Oh my God, now let's do that. So anyway, after the first song, of course, we didn't get a record deal right away. It took a while. But then we got a deal and we did Dance, 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 Yowza, Yowza, Yowza. And that was the record that broke us through. That got us on the radio and...
There's a great story in the book about that, the first time that actually got played in a club.
Yeah.
And then they kept playing it all night long. Just to reflect on that.
It was ridiculous. There was a guy I went to music school with, and he's actually a big composer now. He's really mainly a television composer named Walter Murphy, and he did a hit record called A Fifth of Beethoven. And you guys know that. That's a classic disco song where he remade Beethoven's Fifth, and it goes... And even Thicke, Robin Thicke did a revamping of it. So that's a record that's been around for a long time. It was in Saturday Night Fever. It was jamming, blah, blah, blah. So what happened was when that record came out, at the time we weren't called Chic. We were the Big Apple Band. And when Walter put out that record, it was called Walter Murphy and the Big Apple Band. So everybody thought that it was us. And unfortunately, we had to tell them, no, that's not our record, although we wish it were because it's a great record. But once again, Walter had taken his classical training and gone to disco, right? So Walter was, from Manhattan School of Music. And the funny thing about it, what Pete is referring to, the night that we took our demo to a club, we played our demo, this is the truth, at least 10 times in a row. And our first record was really long. Played it 10 times in a row. And at that time, the #1 record on the chart was A Fifth of Beethoven by Walter. And then the DJ tried to play it and the people started booing. And then they wound up playing our record a bunch more times before they would allow him to play the other record. So it was interesting that also was a big reinforcement to us because it showed us that the music was more powerful than the cult of personality. It was like, it wasn't about whose record, it was about the record. And we had never seen that kind of power in music because everything to us had always been about marketing. It was always the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, blah, 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 Jethro Tull, it was a lot of hype. But when dance music came around, disco, you could just go to a DJ, get into his ear and say, look, try and do this. And he'll listen to it while he's playing another record and he's looking at his crowd and he's trying to judge whether he can fit the record in or not. And then all of a sudden he'll slip it in. If the people dance, this was the thing I always loved hearing. Hey man, can I get a copy of that? It's like, it's the only one we have. Oh man, when you finish it, please give me a copy. It's like, yes. So by the time we got a record deal, and this is no disrespect, I'm just being 100% honest. By the time we got a record deal, we were completely independent because we had already gone around to every DJ and played we only had 2 copies of the song, right? So all the DJs knew it and they knew that it was coming, but we didn't have a record deal. So, and you could see some guys trying to, in those days, they had reel-to-reel tape recorders, so you could see them try and push the reel-to-reel and record it. It was like, yo, man, come on, man, don't steal my record yet. But it was great. There was a whole trend. There was a relationship between the artist and the DJs, and so I grew up thinking that that's my audience. My audience is this guy first, because if he doesn't like it, you're never going to hear it. I never ever thought I'd be on the radio. I never thought we'd compete with the Rolling Stones or anybody like that. I'm not picking on the Stones, but I just we were on the same label as the Rolling Stones, and what happened was we were selling more. Right out of the box, we were selling more, and they thought that we had captured Studio 54 in a bottle. So believe it or not, after our very first record, the president of the company asked us to produce the Rolling Stones. And we're little kids, basically. We've never done a record other than, the first Chic, Dance, 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 Yowza, 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 Everybody Dance, Strike Up the Band, Esquisse Chic, those 7 songs that were on our first record. So we only knew one way of producing, which is our way. Either you do it our way or there is no record. That's just, we were orchestrators and band leaders, and you do what we say.
I think the other thing to point out at that time, that you were becoming the first kind of faceless superstars, and there was a side effect of that, because there's a great story about you going to Studio 54, and of course you were a big hit there, but I don't think you could get in, could you?
No. Well, see, the cool thing about our
there was a good side effect of that as well, which I'm sure you're going to tell us.
The cool thing about our careers is that the one thing I'm really trying to say, and I'm probably taking too long to say it, is that the music was the star and it fit us perfectly, because we weren't stars. Like, my whole life, I've been working with stars. And believe me, when a person's a star, you know it. When Madonna walks in the room, you know it. When Bowie walks in the room, you know it. When Sting walks in the room, you know it. I work with Sting all the time. We're just standing on stage at rehearsal, and there's like charisma oozing off of his ass. You know, he's just like there. Nile, darling. All right, Sting, you know. So we knew that we weren't those guys, but we could make music that was not only stars, but superstar music. And that's what we did. We concentrated on making the best music possible, because we knew that we didn't have the charisma to be front people. So when we put Chic together, we did this faceless thing. It was a concept. Basically, it's hard for people who are fans of Chic to hear this, but the truth is that Chic is the ensemble. It's the vessel for our compositions. That's what Chic is. And if you look at the credits on our record, there's a revolving door of players. It's people changing all the time. It's because we always use the best people that were available. And the thing that's really, really hard for people to understand is that there was a huge difference between the way black artists were treated and white artists were treated. Our whole budget was $35,000. And I have the New York Philharmonic playing on it and all that kind of stuff. You know, any new rock band that would get signed, oh, 200,000, 300,000, oh, they're the greatest things in that. But we had to make our record, $35,000. We didn't have the studio locked out. We would just go in, 8-hour shifts. I never had a studio locked out, check this out, until I did Duran Duran's Wild Boys. So think about this. David Bowie, Let's Dance, I did that record in 17 days on 8-hour shifts. We just walked in and we did it just like black records. It was just like
like techno.
Yeah, you know, right, exactly, you know. In and out, in and out. I mean, that's how we lived our lives. And that's why we were so productive, and that's why there were no second takes. Everything was just, once you got it right, which was most of the time, because the band is just reading the music and we rehearse it and then we play it. That's the record, and tape costs money. Madonna used to say all the time, time is money and the money is mine. And that's true.
I know where she's coming from.
And that's how we grew up. It was all about time and efficiency, and we would knock out records. So what Pete was saying is that by being faceless and being anonymous, there was a great side to it, because I have a really wonderful natural life. The bad side was that no one knows who you are, because we never had to make a living playing live shows, because it was so important to keep us in the studio and just making records over and over and over again. We never went out to tour. So then after we did Chic, and they offered us the Stones, instead of us doing the Stones, we chose to do Sister Sledge, because they were pretty much unknown, and we wanted to prove to them that the music was more powerful than the image. That you can actually take the music, make something clever, and then back into the image. Believe it or not, we never met Sister Sledge until the day they walked into the studio and sang We Are Family. Never looked into their eyes, never spoke to them on the phone. Well, but what we did was we were interviewed, we interviewed the head of the company. He was trying to convince us to do a big star, and we were like, no, we don't want a big star. And my exact words to him was, I can make your secretary a big star. And he was like, what are you talking about? I says, well, I would make your secretary a big star because I would tell the truth. All Chic songs are non-fiction. We tell the truth. And he says, well, what do you mean? I said, well, here's what I would do. If I were making a record with your secretary, I would talk about how frustrating it is for her to be sitting there at that desk while all these other people walking in, and she's better than everybody. And then I'm gonna make that record for her, and her record is gonna kick everybody. And he said, you can do that? I said, yeah, I can do that. And then that's when he told us about Sister Sledge and blah, blah, blah. And then he says they're like family to us. And he basically, he basically dictated the lyrics. That interview became the template for the song We Are Family, and also that was the framework for the album, which was a concept album.
You still got to tell us about that night at Studio 54. People want to hear about that night. You got turned away.
So what happened was, so what Pete's referring to is that, so our music is pumping inside, right? So everybody inside is dancing all of our songs. And the thing that was cool about Studio 54 is that obviously they had to appeal to the pop crowd, what they used to call sorry, I know I'm in Europe, but they used to call it the Euro trash crowd or the bridge and tunnel crowd.
Name it.
That's what they used to say.
And
And they wanted to hear all of the pop current stuff, but they also liked underground music too. They wanted to hear the next gen of what was going to rock the dance floor. So our record, Everybody Dance, was actually more popular than Dance Dance Dance. So Grace Jones heard Everybody Dance and said, I want those guys to produce me. So she got in touch with us, and she says, okay, darling, this is what you do. I sound terrible doing Grace, but she sort of sounds like Marlene and Dietrich or something, like Marlene and Dietrich from Jamaica. So she says, all right, Nile, darling, this is what you do, is you tell them you're personal friends of Grace, and just say that that's it. You're personal friends of Grace Jones, and they'll let you in. So we go to the stage door, which is what she instructs us to do. We knock on the door and say, we don't say, we're personal friends of Grace, but we say, yo, man, you know, we're Chic, we're personal friends of Grace Jones. And the guy looks at us. I mean, he wanted to laugh, but he slams the door in our faces and says, fuck off. And we're like, we're banging on the door. No, it's a true story. She told us, she said exactly this. So we're thinking that this is like rock and roll code. Personal friends of Grace. So we're trying to get it right. Yo, we're personal friends, they're personal friends, I'm a personal friend. We're personal friends of Grace. We're personal friends of Grace. You're personal friends of Grace. Oh, man, fuck off. So we went to my house and we started going. This is the true story. We went there and started going. Aw, fuck off. Fuck Studio 54. Fuck off. Aw, fuck off. Fuck Studio 54. Fuck off. And we got into it. You should have seen, if you were a fly on the wall, Bernard and I, we were doing choreography and we were like, fuck off. Bernard finally said in that way that only Bernard Edwards can say, you know this shit is happening, right? And now, this is the early days of disco. So there were a lot of records that were X-rated that DJs would play, but only at the hippest clubs. So there was a popular record, I'm sure no one in this room knows, called Stickball. And Stickball was a record that would be played at the hardcore clubs. And basically, Stickball started out as a sort of, it sounded like a Catholic church. And it was like this Italian guy, hey, Mrs. Manetti, can Tony come out and play? And they're like not Gregorian chants, but it's sort of like, you know, ah, da, da. And then this guy is telling this narrative about playing stickball, and he talks about going out to nightclubs, and finally he gets to the end and he goes, and sex between two people, that's beautiful. But sex between three people, now that's fucking heavy. And and then this record just goes out. And so I say to Bernard, man, this is like stickball. We're only gonna get played in like 3 clubs in New York. And he's like, well, let's fix it. So we changed it from fuck off to freak off, and that sounded horrible. We kept trying to make it, freak off, freak at studio. It was like, we were like tripping, but we were determined. And then I grew up as a hippie. So every now and then, see what happened, so I'm telling this story so out of sequence. I don't mean to be anachronistic, but what happened was, when I first met Bernard, like I was like, oh wow, man, you know, like we have to put together this band that's like a cross between Fairport Convention and like, you know, like the Grateful Dead, man, and you know, maybe put a little Parliament Funkadelic in it, man, you know, but like, so that's how I grew up. And Bernard was like R&B, you know. So for one moment I went into hippie world on him. So even though we were playing all, and we were all funky, and I said, oh man, I got it. I know, like freak out, man. You know, like when you freak out on acid, man, you know, like you have a bad trip, man. And Bernard looked at me and went, what? And I instantly got my black dance card back and said, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like when you're on a dance floor and you're freaking out, I mean, the girls are going crazy. And then Bernard said, and then there's that new dance my kids are doing called the freak. And I said, that's right. So all of a sudden this magical thing happened and we turned it into freak out. And then as soon as we sang, freak out, it was like, damn. And instead of dissing Studio 54, we praised Studio 54. So check this out. So no, it's a good lesson because the fundamental thing of dance music, which at least sort of the fundamental thing for Chic, was that our music was always nonfiction. It was always truth. And yeah, there may have been fictional characters and stories, but everything was always real. So when we wrote this song about this real dance, about this real place, about these real people that were inside doing this dance that we couldn't get in to see them do it, but we knew they were doing it, there was something that was absolutely perfect about it. But it gets even better because our whole concept of Chic is that we were, you know, like in the old days, when black artists, especially jazz artists, would become popular, they would have a better life in Europe than they would in America, and particularly in France. Josephine Baker, so we decided, hey, why don't we pretend to be French coming back to America so we didn't have to go through the bullshit. We're already French, so. As a matter of fact, I'm really digressing, but this is a true story. A few years ago, some French friends of mine who were like real great beat makers and hip hop guys, they were working with, I'm not going to say who it is, but really famous hardcore hip hop guys in New York. And the guys walked in the studio and said, what the fuck are you doing with those white guys here? And they went, no, we're not white, we're French. He went, oh, you're French? Cool, right on, what's up? So it was like, it was perfect. We went, so we pretended to be French coming back to America with funk. We figured like, let's just cut out the middleman, you know, just right away, we're cool. And so our poor pronunciation of when we went, freak out, and we went, le freak, c'est chic. And then there's all these background singers, so there's Luther and this one, and you know, so-and-so is from like Georgia and North Carolina and South Carolina, and everybody's country. So we're trying to go, no, le freak. And they were like, le freak, c'est chic, and then le freak, c'est chic. And so this cacophonous thing comes out, and it sounds like the different people all around the world. So check this out. So we put the record out, bang! Not only does it go to #1, it is the single biggest record in the history of Atlantic Records. It is the only triple platinum single. And the reason why is because it was the truth, but it was a wonderful accident. People thought that we were saying, so people in France thought we were saying le fric, like money, was chic. That worked with them, le fric, c'est chic. And then they thought we were saying the slang for the police, so they thought that was cool. They thought that was something sort of ironic and funny. But the most powerful thing was Africans French-speaking African countries thought we were going, Africa. Do-do-do-do. Check it out, check it out. Listen, check it out. Africa. Do-do-do-do-do. L'Afrique. Africa is chic. Say chic. And to this day, so it spread from the French-speaking African countries to all of Africa. So anywhere we go in Africa and that record comes on, people are going, Africa, right? Pete, we were just in Australia, right? And we were playing Womadelaide, and there were all these African bands, and they like sort of had an attitude against the American. And then they saw me, they went, he wrote Africa. And I went, what? And they said, and everybody, if you look on the web, you'll see me. I'm like every African musician, and they're all going, he wrote Africa. Guys are in wheelchairs, Africa. They're like writing their kids. I'm with the guy who wrote Africa, l'Afrique, c'est chic. So, the thing that's great about this music is that this music brings us all together. And, so you fast forward to the next year. So that was 1978. So then we go to 1979 and we do Good Times. We put out Good Times. And now the thing that's interesting about Chic is that we never really considered ourselves a disco band. But what we did know is that the disco movement, the dance movement, is more open than any other form, any other artistic form. It's like if you can rock the dance floor, if the DJs gets a response, your record's on the playlist. They don't care who you are, what you're wearing. You can't convince them. No, well, he's a weird guy. Who cares? My audience was responding. I'm playing the record. So the next year we come out with Good Times, which is one of the best records we could write. And this weird thing happens called Disco Demolition Night. And basically, disco sucks. And it was interesting because there was a band called The Knack, who actually became good friends of ours. And they had this record called My Sharona. It was a great little ditty. It was happening record. Record was happening, but the entire music industry in America rallied around The Knack and pushed that record to #1, and nobody was supporting Chic. No one was supporting Good Times. It just went to #1 by itself. And a lot of times people ask me, what is my single greatest accomplishment? I say going #2. Because when The Knack was #1, our shit was still #2. And then a year later, exactly a year to the day, the #1 record on the Billboard charts was Another One Bites the Dust, which went boom, 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 boom. And our record went boom, 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 boom. As a matter of fact, in our live show, we used to do a comedic session where we would do all of the songs that were derivative of Good Times in a row, and the crowd would bug out. We'd go from Good Times into Rapper's Delight, into Another One Bites the Dust, into Radio Clash, and then back to Good Times, and the crowds would just go bananas. So the thing that I am so proud about right now is when I come here, what are we, like 30-something years later, and what is dominating the world now? This boom, boom. it's like I almost want to call, like, I don't know if the guy is still alive, and I don't mean any ill will towards anyone. I'm just not that dude. But this one really would be fun. I would love to call him up and say, what was that about the sucking part? Like, all of those guys that were going, they're like now going, can you play whatever again? But still our crowd, if you look at our concerts, our crowds are like people my age, people older than me, people younger than me. Everybody is still grooving to this music. We played in Manchester a few weeks ago. I was shocked. 16-year-old kids were singing our B-sides, and they knew them like word for word. So you people, if you're here because you're into the dance music scene, you're in the right place, because this changed my life. It liberated me. And I'm going to play you a silly example of I woke up this morning and I thought to myself, I said, I got a lot of stuff to share, but I don't know what kind of crowd it's going to be. Is it going to be a super muso crowd? Is it going to be a technical crowd? Is it going to be, I didn't know what it was. So I just figured, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to talk to you about things that I think are general, that generally touch us all, that are just what I believe are artistic truths. And the one artistic truth that I know has affected my life, and I believe this with all my heart, that one of the 7 deadly sins is jealousy. And jealousy is probably the most powerful creative force in music. Because when I hear your thing and it's happening, I think to myself, I want that shit. And I do everything I can to try and get it. And that's what happened to Chic. When I first heard boom, 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 and his hip music going around, I was like, I want that. I want to do that. And then now that we can sample and we can actually take it and we can just say, I want that. I don't have to think of it. You thought of it, I'll take it, blah, 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 I'll do something with it. That's what happened to me. So in 1977, we came up with our first couple of records. But then this unbelievable thing happened. Some dude named Giorgio Moroder put out a record called From Here to Eternity. And when I heard that shit, I went, I want that. I want to be able to do that. Who is this guy? Who is this person who can play like that? And I had played, at that point in my life, I had played with all sorts of virtuosos, and I never saw a person who could control 16th notes like that. I was like, who can play like that? Who is that person? And I swear to God, that record From Here to Eternity, I just listened to it, the whole album, just every track, because it was just going. I was like, shit, I want that. I want to be able to play like that. So that was 1977. Our first record was out. We go now to make our second record, right? The one with Le Freak. Now, Le Freak was an accident. We weren't trying to write Le Freak. Le Freak was something that happened because of a situation. The other songs we were trying to write. So I wrote this song called I Want Your Love, and I was so obsessed with what Giorgio Moroder had, because I didn't know anything about sequencing. I knew that there was electronic music because I loved electronic music. I had grown up with it. I had grown up with a lot of classical electronic music. And if you look on the back of his early albums, it would just say, Moog synthesizer, and that's it. And I would like go, okay, how, that means he's sitting there doing that shit. He's sitting there playing. I'm like going, this is the baddest dude that's ever walked this earth. I was like,
and he's here.
No, and I'm saying that, honestly, I had, think about this. I grew up with the funky guys out of Philadelphia, Herschel Happiness and all these like ridiculous funky people, but I never heard anyone control a 16th note like that. I was like, I mean, we were funky. Our shit was happening, but I was like, I want that. I want what he's got. So I listened to From Here to Eternity. Now, remember, records are ensemble pieces, right? So there's more than one thing happening. So you're just hearing me do one thing at a time. But the thing that was amazing about it is that record was just bubbling. It was just going, and it was going. Dude, can we play that? So, can you play From Here to Eternity? And then I was like, how the hell do you do that? Well, a little out of tune, but I can do that. So I wanted to be, honestly, I just thought so I just wanted to be that dude that could do that. So I didn't tell Bernard. I just went away for a few days, and I was just going, and I was just playing 16. And then I wrote "I Want Your Love," and if you listen to "I Want Your Love," there's a track of me. The guitar track is so basically the song is. So anyway, so after hearing Giorgio, I was like, I needed to be that guy going. And I didn't know that there was a sequencer that could do that. I thought that it was just all, and then, so then I got into my whole jazzy thing, so I was like going, into that shit. I was like going, man, I want to go play in Giorgio's band. I want to be like, I wanted to be like, from here to eternity.
Come and do that at Pasha later, right?
And like I said, it's the main thing. It's jealousy. I was so jealous. I was so obsessed. I couldn't sleep. And I dreamt, I Want Your Love. It's the truth. It's the only song I've ever dreamt. And I woke up, I had manuscript paper at the foot of my bed. I was living at a hotel at the time because we still hadn't made enough money. Remember, this is just 1 year after it was actually just a few months after our first record. And I got up and I wrote out the whole arrangement, and I just couldn't wait to go in there and play those 16th notes. It was just a dream come true. And then, anyway, fast forward, so I digressed. So Disco Sucks happens in '79, but now I got that thing now. I could be the semi-electronic guy when I wanted to be. And we start making Chic records that were not like the early Chic records. And we really backslid because we started listening to criticism, and we didn't start out doing that. It was really us against the world. And unfortunately, after Disco Sucks, we couldn't get arrested, but we got the Diana Ross album because she came to one of our live shows and she was standing backstage and she went, "Oh, that was so cute." That was great. I kept thinking to myself, wow, we had a big crowd, it was a sellout, and we were sweating, we're like covered. And she went, "Oh, that was so cute." I was like, okay, I get it. Okay, cool. Well, you're Diana Ross, that's cute, we were cute. And then so we wrote her record, and remember, Chic records are nonfiction. That record is about her life. That was the single hardest record we ever wrote because it was a documentary. We sat there and we interviewed her for days and days and days. We knew all about her. So that was like a film or a magazine article.
I think Motown actually turned it down when you handed it in.
Yeah, they refused the record. They said it's not a Diana Ross record, and we thought we argued our case very well. And we said, no, it is a Diana Ross record. It's just not the last Diana Ross record. It's the next Diana Ross record. and we tried to make a really good case, and we were pretty good at putting up a solid argument. I mean, now I'm being silly. But, you know, we were like, no, Mr. Gordy, let me explain this. You know, we have I'm Coming Out. That's going to be her song that she comes out on stage with. And in black vernacular, in the old days, we used to always have what we call a coming out song. Every Chic album, go back and listen to it, you'll hear every Chic album has a coming out song, which means the song that you come out on stage on. That's all that is. This is our coming out song for the second album. And we're off stage, and we walk out and go, chic, 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 and then we all start to collect. That's our coming out. First album was our coming out song was called Strike Up the Band. We were off stage, and we go, pop. Silence. Boom, strike up, and we walk up the band. Boom, pop, pop, pop. So we said, Diana's coming out song on this record is called I'm Coming Out. Now what had happened is I had been hanging out at all of the great underground clubs in New York, and New York was happening in those days. I mean, Studio 54, and everybody was trying to copy Studio 54, so how could you copy it? You'd have to outdo it. So places were getting more and more outrageous, more sex, more drugs, greater music. So I went to this joint one night called the Gilded Grape, which was a transvestite club. And I was in the bathroom, and every now and then you go to the bathroom to use the bathroom for what they're actually meant for. But in those days, you know, bathrooms, we were doing drugs and having sex.
That was the office.
Party. Yeah, that was seriously, at Studio 54, that's what we called it, the bathroom, the women's bathroom, not the men. The women's bathroom was my office. And so anyway, so I went into the men's bathroom at the Gilded Grape. I had no idea what was going on in the women's bathroom at the Gilded Grape, but I went into the men's bathroom, and and I'm trying to tell the story 100% accurately because I can't remember the numbers, but there certainly was more than one. There's definitely more. It was absolutely two. I believe there were 3 or 4 Diana Ross impersonators. While I'm urinating on either side of me, there's a couple of... I am trying not to lose it. I called Bernard up and I said, dude, I'm in like a Fellini movie, like La Cage aux Folles, directed by Fellini, and I'm like in the bathroom. Yes, I'm going to the bathroom. Giorgio, Antonio, blah, blah. Diana Ross, come in, cue the trannies, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, no, now start partying, bring the champagne, do the coke. And I'm like going, this can't be happening. And so I called Bernard up and I said, you know what, man? Who is more revered by the gay community than Diana Ross? And I'm Coming Out is like, you know, that's like when people say they're coming out, they're tired of living life in the shadows, in the closet. They're coming out of the closet. Double entendre. What do I say? Chic songs are nonfiction. Let's tell the truth. We know all about Diana. We just interviewed her. I'm coming out. This is the shit. This is it. This is it. We got it. This is unbelievable. To us, it was unbelievable. It was. I mean, you know, I'm getting worked up because I am, at the end of the day, I am simply a composer, guitar player. But this was perfect. This album was perfect. It was like, we knew this woman's essence, and she was like a queen to us. I like Diana Ross, I like the Supremes, but Bernard was like, whoa. I was like going, you sure you weren't in the bathroom, brother? But, you know, but no, I mean, he was gaga. He was gaga over Diana Ross. I mean, he wanted this record to be perfect, and it was perfect. And the thing is that we also are always on the side of the artist. So now we have Diana Ross, right? To us, this is, so here's, once again, I'm being anachronistic, but I gotta put this in perspective just so you get it. So it may not sound strange to you that I produced Diana Ross's biggest record, because you know that I've done Bowie's biggest record, you know I've done Madonna's biggest record, and In Excess, Duran Duran, and on and on and on. But Diana Ross was the first star we ever worked with. Up until then, all of those gold and platinum records were generated by Chic, Sister Sledge, or Norma Jean. So she was the first. So for us to get this perfect was really, really important. So the fact that we felt that we nailed it, and believe it or not, there were only 3 people on earth that thought it was right. I mean, not including our musicians. It was Bernard Edwards, myself, and one person from Motown Records. It was the woman who hired us. And I can't imagine what hell she had to go through, because they hated the record. They were not going to put it out. We wound up going to court. We had a lawsuit.
They wouldn't. They shut you down, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
You tell the story in the book. They wouldn't answer calls. You were.
Right. Let me revise that though, because at my book release party, my very first book release, Suzanne DePass was there, and I said, Suzanne, how come you didn't answer our calls? I mean, if that were to happen to us today, if you were an executive and I was an artist and we had a problem, why wouldn't you answer the phone? She said, no, because you sued us. She says, our lawyer said, don't talk to them. And I went, oh, right. Right. Once you start the lawsuit, then all this legal stuff kicks in, and we can't accept any calls. We have to talk to attorneys. And I was like, oh, because Suzanne's my friend. I mean, we love each other, and that's what happened. So I got that a little bit wrong, but it's true. Not a phone call, not a peep. So we had to sue and force them. Anyway, put the record out, bang, #1. Biggest record of her entire career.
I think you did what we all do. You leaked it, didn't you? I think you managed to get it out somehow.
No, they put it out. I mean,
no.
We fought. We didn't leak it. No, we did. No. We did. There was no such thing
It's
as
getting legal.
There was no such thing as leaking records. And how would you even do that? We wouldn't even.
You wouldn't take it to a club and try it out with one of your friends.
Oh no, we had already done that. No. That's what I'm saying. That we knew. No, we knew this was happening. No, that wasn't quite leaking it, because we wouldn't leave any copies with people. People would. That's what I'm saying. Our relationship with DJs were great. We always tried beats out on brand new people. We wanted to make sure we were in the right space. So no. We knew it was happening. We couldn't understand why they didn't get it, because it was so perfect. It was her life. Everything was perfect, and I couldn't wait for the first time she walked out to a gay audience and went, because you know how it starts. It goes, I'm coming out. The first words out of her mouth, and the band backs her up, and it's like, and I remember trying to explain it to her, and I said, Diana, it's your coming out song. This is how you're going to start your show. And you know what? I'm going to digress once again. This is how Diana Ross starts her show to this very day. She never will come out on stage without playing that. That's the song and that's her coming out song. And it stayed that way from the moment they released it until this very day. When you hear, I'm coming out, in a few seconds she's gonna walk out, the hair, the thing, the staircase, the gown, the whole bit. And that's what we were trying to explain to her then. And anyway, so what happened was, when they finally put the record out and it just shot to the top of the charts, the first record they came with was Upside Down, which is how we planned it. We did not want to come with I'm Coming Out first, because we knew Upside Down was actually more commercial. So in the end, they did what we wanted them to do, and they did a little tweaking of the record, and they say that they drastically saved it. I mean, you people are in the audio business, listen to the difference. On our record, the audio quality is such, we have more bass. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that we were looking out for Diana, and this was the first time we worked with a superstar, and we knew that at Motown, she had been somewhat corralled and bloomed and this, and walk like this, and you go to finishing school. Now we had her. All by ourselves in the studio. Listen to our recording. Diana is riffing and soloing, because we said, we got a thoroughbred, let's let her run. And she's on our record, she's like doing riffs that you don't hear on the other record, because Motown didn't want her to be that person. But we said, no, she is that person. We've interviewed her. You don't know your own artist. She is that woman. Let her do it. And, but anyway. One of our friends convinced us that no matter what they did with the mix and the tweaking, that the record was so strong that you absolutely couldn't ruin it. Bernard and I were gutted but record came out, biggest record of her career, one of my biggest records ever, and I'm very, very proud of it.
Just conscious, I mean, we could go on forever here, and I do advise you to get the book, because it's like spending 2 weeks with this man.
Oh, sorry.
It's
I
amazing.
am long-winded.
No. I just wanted to bring you, just to point out that you're very, you're still very engaged, very current, you're on Twitter. You just work with Daft Punk as well. Can you, I know they're quite secretive, but can you tell us a bit about that?
Daft who?
Well, we wanted to know if they were still out there, because they disappeared.
So, it's not really a secret that we were together. And I say to both Guy and Thomas that I respect them hugely, immensely. And, they are in charge of their marketing. And I'm going to let them roll it out and tell you guys what it is. All I can say is that shit is amazing. And remember what I said, that so much of creation and creativity is driven by jealousy, right? I hear your record and go, oh my God, I want that. I hear Giorgio's thing, I want that. I hear this, I want that. Keep that in mind. Daft Punk is smoking.
I think, have we got time for a couple? Only a couple of good ones. Have we got any questions for Niall from the floor?
God, I am long-winded. We're wrapping
No,
already.
you're not long-winded. You're not.
No, please give me some questions. Please, please, please. All right. A brave soul there.
Hello, my name is Gregor. I would just like to ask you if you could share thought on Donna Summer and Robin Gibb, two great disco artists that left us recently.
Yeah, I've just done a very, very large article for a major paper in England discussing Donna and Robin. The big turning point in my life was, you can actually even go online and see this. There's Chic, before we became Chic, you hear us playing the Bee Gees, right, with our little band. The Bee Gees were so instrumental in our development, because in my own world, and just think about this, in the black community, I saw people buying Bee Gees records, and it was incredible. In my own family, like my aunt, I'll never forget this, the day she walked in with Saturday Night Fever. Now, she was not a Bee Gees fan at all before that, and I saw how this kind of music can bring people together. We used to play every song on that soundtrack, and as a matter of fact, I have so much respect for the Bee Gees and what they've done. And Robin, actually, he and I had an incredible conversation the day after Michael Jackson died. We did a BBC radio special, and it was really incredible, because I got to tell him how much I respected him. I got to tell him a few funny stories, like Chic being anonymous and being in the bathroom with the Bee Gees while they're talking about us, and we're like sitting there going. It was hysterical. He was crying. I was like, oh. But Robin, and Robin was he was a nice guy. I mean, he was really cool. And Donna was one of my terrific friends. We only worked together, Donna and I, we only worked together one time, believe it or not. We've had countless meetings. Diana Ross and Chic sort of made sense. Donna Summer and Chic makes a lot of sense. If you go on YouTube and you see the VH1 special with us playing, I don't remember what song it was, Bad Girls or something, that shit sounds perfect. I mean, it was the marriage of all time. And Donna, even on that special, you'll see her say, Niall and I, we had a meeting, I don't know why we didn't work together. And we would, I adore her. If you went to my apartment in New York, as Guy and Thomas did from Daft Punk, You'll see a painting. You'll see a painting hanging on my wall, and it was at the fashion designer Norma Kamali's house. And Norma Kamali is one of Donna's best friends. And I bought that painting because I knew that Donna loved it. And I was like thinking to myself, well, when Donna comes to my crib and sees the painting, she's gonna go, all right, now finally we're gonna do a record together. I love her. I adore her. The music that she did. You don't understand. I mean, it was hero worship. I like the B-sides. Those early records, man, just turned me around. This is all the stuff that made me become the composer that I am. It was Coppin Giorgio's stuff. It was listening to, Spring Affair and Autumn Changes and all that stuff. Not just the big gigantic records. It was they were making concept records. They had a beginning, a middle, and an end. They weren't just about singles. Singles were just to market the big concept. So Donna and Robin are amazing, and to me, I feel that the industry, it's actually in the hands of you guys. I mean, we're like sort of old school, and I don't know if we would have really put out any more records that would have changed the world. But just as far as personalities and live performances, they were great. I mean, we worked with Donna not too long ago. I saw her last performance in New York. It was unbelievable. So once again, I'm sorry to be long-winded, but I love them both very much. They were incredible.
Probably just got time for one more. Go on.
Hi, I'm Adam. What's the most inspirational DJ you've ever heard, and maybe the most inspirational club you've been to, or moment in a club?
Wow, that's impossible. I can't answer that because think about this. Food that you like now, that you love, is not necessarily the food that you loved 6 years ago or 5 years ago. So I've had that moment over and over and over and over again. I've been to performances where I'll say to myself, oh my God, I've never seen anything like that. And then 2 years later, I'll go to another performance and go, oh my God, I've never seen anything like that. So there is no single event. There's no single musician. There's no single piece of artistic work that I can say is the absolute platinum or gold standard for anything that exists on this earth, because it's all in the eye and the ear, nose and throat of the beholder. I mean, it's so completely subjective, and for me, I know that I'm all over the map when it comes to music and performers and nights of my life and how I remember them. So there is none. There's not one single event that is that.
Okay. I've got to say, it's been a great honor for me.
What? I don't understand.
Hold on.
Are we taking? It's an auction.
One more question.
We've got a bid from Switzerland. Are you kidding? My girl? Oh, this is great. Hello? Yo, Grace? Oh,
It is Grace Jones's number. Mark signed her.
Grace.
But listen, Niall, if you've got the energy tonight and you want to come to Pasha, you just go to the little side door and you say you're a friend of Pete Tong, and I promise it'll work.
No, I say.